Jake Miller ran through the tall grass behind his family's farm. His brown hair bounced as he chased after Buddy, his golden dog. The sun was getting low in the sky, painting everything orange and red. Jake could hear his mom and dad working, in the fields nearby. "Buddy, come back here," Jake called out. The dog had found something interesting near the edge of the woods and wouldn't listen. Jake was 7 years old and lived on New Haven, a farming planet far from Earth. His parents, Carl and Lisa Miller, grew food for the other colonies. It was a quiet life, but Jake loved it. He loved running in the fields, helping with the animals and watching the stars at night. As Jake got closer to the woods, Buddy started barking at something in the sky. Jake looked up and saw strange lights moving between the clouds. They weren't, like the ships that usually came to their planet. These lights were different. They moved too smoothly and made no sound. Carl Miller stood up from the harvesting machine and wiped sweat from his face. He had been working since sunrise, gathering the grain crops. The harvest season was almost over, and he wanted to finish before the rains came. "Lisa, have you seen Jake?" Carl called to his wife. Lisa looked up from sorting vegetables. "He was playing with Buddy near the south field." "Why?" "Just checking. It's getting dark soon." Neither of them noticed the strange lights in the sky. The lights moved without making any noise, hidden by clouds and the fading daylight. High above the planet, the Zephyrian research ship waited. Science Commander Vextel stood on the bridge, studying the human settlement below. His gray skin looked pale under the ship's lights. His large black eyes focused on the readings from his scanners. The specimens appeared to be engaged in agricultural activities, reported his assistant, a younger Zephyrian named Trilna. "Should we proceed with collection?" Vextal nodded slowly. "Yes. Select a young specimen. They adapt better to laboratory conditions." The Zephyrians had been studying different species across the galaxy for hundreds of years. They were scientists, always curious about how other life forms worked. To them, taking samples for study was normal. They didn't think about whether it was right or wrong. "I detect a juvenile human separated from the adults," Trilna said. "It appears to be following a four-legged creature toward the forest area." "Perfect. Deploy the collection team." Jake finally caught up to Buddy at the edge of the woods. The dog was still barking at the sky, but now Jake couldn't see any lights. Maybe he had imagined them. "What's wrong, boy?" Jake asked, petting Buddy's head. "There's nothing up there." But Buddy kept barking. Then Jake heard a soft humming sound, like the noise their farm equipment made, but quieter. The sound seemed to come from everywhere at once. A bright light suddenly shone down from above. Jake looked up and saw a large, dark shape blocking out the stars. It was bigger than any ship he had ever seen. The light was so bright it hurt his eyes. "Mom! Dad!" Jake yelled, but his voice sounded strange. He felt sleepy all of a sudden. His legs felt heavy. Buddy stopped barking and fell over. The dog was breathing, but his eyes were closed. Jake tried to run back toward the farm, but he couldn't make his legs work properly. Everything felt slow and difficult. The light got brighter. Jake felt himself being lifted off the ground. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. The trees and grass got smaller and smaller below him. He could see his parents' farm in the distance, looking tiny. Then everything went dark. Carl Miller looked at his watch. "Jake should be back by now," he told Lisa. "I'm going to find him." Carl walked toward the south field, calling Jake's name. The sun had set completely now, and the planet's 2 moons gave some light. Carl brought a flashlight to help him see. "Jake, time for dinner," Carl shouted. He found Buddy first. The dog was lying in the grass near the woods, breathing but unconscious. Carl knelt down and shook the dog gently. "Buddy, what's wrong, boy?" The dog's eyes opened slowly. Buddy looked confused and weak. Carl picked up the dog and looked around for Jake. "Jake, where are you?" Carl searched for an hour. He looked behind, every tree and rock. He called Jake's name until his voice was rough, but there was no sign of his son. Lisa came to help with more lights. Soon, neighbors arrived to join the search. They looked all through the night, but found nothing. No footprints, no torn clothes, Nothing that would show where Jake had gone. By morning, the local police arrived. They brought search dogs and flying vehicles. The dogs found Jake's scent trail, but it ended suddenly in the middle of an empty field. The trail just stopped, as if Jake had disappeared into the air. "We need to contact the Colonial Defense Network," the police chief told Carl and Lisa. "This isn't normal. Kids don't just vanish like this." Lisa cried as she hugged Buddy. The dog seemed fine now, but he kept looking at the sky and whimpering. The news about Jake's disappearance reached the Colonial Defense Network within hours. From there, it spread to other colonies, then to Earth itself. A 7-year-old boy had vanished without a trace on New Haven. Most alien species in the galaxy would have been sad about losing a child, but they would have accepted it and moved on. The Zephyrians expected humans to do the same. They thought humans were like most other species they had studied. They were very wrong. On Earth, Admiral Kate Rodriguez read the report about Jake Miller. She was the head of humanity's space defense forces. She had fought in wars and made difficult decisions, but reading about a missing child made her angry in a way she rarely felt. "Get me Captain Turner," she told her assistant, "and prepare the fleet, all available ships." The Zephyrians thought they had simply collected a research specimen. They had no idea they had just started something that would change the entire galaxy. High above New Haven, their research ship jumped into hyperspace, carrying Jake far from his home. But they had left something behind on that quiet farming planet. They had left evidence of what they had done, and humans never forgot. Humans never gave up. Most importantly, humans protected their own. The hunt was about to begin. Admiral Kate Rodriguez sat in her office at Earth Command headquarters. The morning sun shone through the large windows, but she didn't notice. Her attention was focused on the report in front of her. A human child had been taken from New Haven colony. Kate had been a soldier for 30 years. She had seen wars and battles across human space, but nothing made her more angry than someone hurting a child. She pressed the button on her desk to call her staff. "Get me Captain Ben Turner immediately," she said, "and send word to all fleet commanders. We have a code red situation." Within minutes, Captain Turner appeared on her video screen. He was aboard his ship, the HMS Retribution, patrolling near the edge of human space. Turner was known throughout the fleet as the best hunter they had. If someone could find the missing boy, it was him. "Admiral, I just received the alert about New Haven," Turner said. "What do we know?" "A 7-year-old boy named Jake Miller was taken 3 days ago. Local police found no trace of him, no footprints, no signs of struggle. The search dogs lost his scent in the middle of an empty field." Turner's face grew serious. "That sounds like alien involvement." "That's what I think too. I want you to take your ship to New Haven immediately. Bring Commander Alex Stone and his special team. If aliens took this child, we're going to find them." Commander Alex Stone was the leader of humanity's most elite soldiers. His team could track enemies across star systems and fight in any environment. Stone had never failed a rescue mission. "What about the rest of the fleet?" Turner asked. "I'm sending every available ship," Kate said. "This isn't just about one child. If aliens think they can take our people without consequences, they need to learn otherwise." After ending the call, Kate stood and walked to the window. She could see ships taking off from the military base below. Word was already spreading across human space. Jake Miller's disappearance was becoming more than just a missing person case. On the Planet Frontier station, dock worker Pete Johnson heard the news on the radio. He was loading supplies onto a cargo ship when the bulletin came through. A human child had been kidnapped by aliens. Pete stopped working and listened carefully. The boy was from New Haven, a farming colony Pete had visited once. He remembered the friendly people there and how they had shared their food with his crew. "Hey, boss," Pete called to his supervisor. "I need to take some time off." "What for?" his boss asked. "That missing kid. I want to help look for him." Pete's boss shook his head. "Pete, you're not military. You drive cargo ships. What can you do?" "I know space routes the military doesn't. I've been to places they haven't. Maybe I can help." Pete wasn't the only civilian who felt this way. Across human colonies, regular people heard about Jake Miller and wanted to help. Shop owners, miners, traders, and farmers all began preparing to join the search. Dr. Helen Park worked in her laboratory on Earth, studying the evidence from New Haven. She was humanity's best expert on alien technology and biology. If aliens had taken Jake, she would figure out which species was responsible. Helen examined soil samples from where Jake had disappeared. Under her powerful microscope, she found tiny particles that shouldn't exist on New Haven. The particles contained isotopes that were rare in human space. Computer-run analysis on these isotope patterns, she said. The computer worked for several minutes comparing the particles to its database of known alien species. Finally, it found a match. Isotope pattern consistent with Zephyrian homeworld region, the computer announced. Helen had heard of the Zephyrians before. They were known throughout the galaxy as advanced scientists and researchers. They studied other species, but usually from a distance. Taking specimens wasn't something they normally did. Computer, send this information to Admiral Rodriguez immediately, Helen said. Priority 1. On New Haven, Carl and Lisa Miller sat in their kitchen surrounded by neighbors and police officers. They hadn't slept since Jake disappeared. Every few minutes, Carl would get up and look out the window, hoping to see his son running across the fields. We have every available team searching, the police chief told them. And now Earth Command is sending military ships. We're going to find Jake. Lisa held Jake's favorite toy, a small robot he had built from spare farm equipment. He's just a little boy, she whispered. Why would anyone take him? Carl put his arm around his wife. We'll get him back, he said, whatever it takes. Neither of them knew that their son's disappearance was already becoming the biggest military operation in human history. Captain Turner's ship arrived at New Haven 12 hours later. Commander Stone and his team immediately began investigating the area where Jake had vanished. Stone was a big man with scars from many battles. His team followed him quietly as they examined every inch of ground. The police did a good job preserving the scene, Stone said, but they missed something. Stone knelt in the grass where the search dogs had lost Jake's scent. He pulled out a special scanner that could detect trace elements invisible to normal equipment. The scanner began beeping softly. Got it, Stone said. Residual energy patterns from a transport beam, definitely alien technology. Turner received Dr. Park's report about the Zephyrians while Stone worked. He studied the data and began plotting courses to systems where the aliens might have gone. Commander, we have a lead, Turner told Stone. The Zephyrians took the boy. Stone stood up and looked at his team. Then we're going hunting. But Turner and Stone weren't working alone. Reports began coming in from across human space. Ships were converging from every colony and station. Military vessels, cargo haulers, mining ships, and even small pleasure craft were all heading toward New Haven. Admiral Rodriguez watched the fleet reports with amazement. She had ordered a large response, but what was happening exceeded her wildest expectations. Humans from every walk of life were dropping everything to search for one child they had never met. Admiral, we have over 200 ships requesting permission to join the search, her aide reported. 200? Rodriguez was shocked. How many of those are military? Less than half, ma'am. The rest are civilians, miners, traders, colonists. They all want to help find Jake Miller. Rodriguez realized something significant was happening. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore. It was becoming a demonstration of what humans would do when one of their own was threatened. Give them all permission to join, she said. And send word throughout human space. Anyone who wants to help is welcome. In the distant Kepler void, the Zephyrian research ship continued its journey toward their secret laboratory station. Science Commander Vextal studied the readings from their new specimen. The human child was showing remarkable resilience in captivity. Vextal had no idea that hundreds of human ships were already searching for them. He thought humans would be sad about losing the child, but would eventually give up and move on. Most species in the galaxy worked that way. The Zephyrians were about to learn that humans were different, very different. Back on New Haven, Captain Turner prepared to begin the hunt. He had the best tracking technology, the most skilled team, and now the largest fleet ever assembled for a rescue mission. All ships, this is Captain Turner. He broadcast to the growing fleet. "We're going to find Jake Miller and bring him home, no matter how far we have to go or how long it takes." The hunt had begun. Jake Miller woke up in a room he had never seen before. The walls were smooth and white like the inside of an egg. There were no windows, and the light came from panels in the ceiling. Everything smelled strange, like the cleaning chemicals his mother used, but different. Jake sat up slowly. His head felt fuzzy, like when he had been sick with fever last winter. He was lying on a soft platform that was too small to be a real bed. The room was very quiet. He couldn't hear any of the normal sounds from home, like wind in the trees or animals moving around. "Hello?" Jake called out. His voice sounded small in the empty room. "Is anyone there?" A section of the wall slid open without making any sound. A creature walked in that looked nothing like any person Jake had ever seen. It was tall and thin, with gray skin that looked almost see-through. Its head was larger than a human head, and its eyes were big and completely black. Jake should have been scared, but he wasn't. He had always been curious about things. When other kids ran away from spiders or strange bugs, Jake would watch them to see what they did. "Greetings, young specimen," the creature said. Its voice was soft but didn't sound friendly. "I am Science Commander Vextal. You are aboard our research vessel." "Where's my mom and dad?" Jake asked. "They remain on your planet. You have been selected for study." Jake thought about this. He had heard stories about aliens from the older kids at school. Most of the stories were scary, but Jake's father had always told him that being scared didn't help solve problems. "What kind of study?" Jake asked. Vexatel seemed surprised by the question. Most species they captured either cried or became very quiet. This human child was asking questions like he was genuinely interested. "We examine how different species function," Vexatel explained. "Your biology, your psychology, your learning capabilities." "Oh," Jake said. "Like how I study insects on the farm." This comparison made Vexatel uncomfortable, though he couldn't explain why. "You will cooperate with our procedures. Resistance is pointless." Jake nodded. "Can I ask questions too?" "What do you mean?" "Well, if you're studying me, can I study you back? That seems fair." Vextal had been conducting research for over a century. No specimen had ever made such a request. He found himself saying yes before he realized it. Over the next few days, Jake's routine became strange, but predictable. The aliens would take him to different rooms filled with machines that scanned his body and tested his reflexes. They gave him puzzles to solve and asked him questions about human behavior. But Jake was doing his own studying too. He watched how the aliens moved and talked. He noticed that they had trouble with bright lights and seemed to get tired easily. He counted how many of them worked on the ship and memorized the layout of the corridors they walked through. The young alien named Trilna spent the most time with Jake. She was curious about human development and asked many questions about his life on New Haven. "Why did you follow the four-legged creature into the forest?" Trilna asked during one of their sessions. "You mean Buddy? He's my dog. He was scared of something, so I wanted to help him." "But helping him put you in danger." Jake thought about this. "Yeah, but that's what you do for family. You help them even if it's dangerous. The canine creature is not your biological family. He doesn't have to be blood family to be real family," Jake said. "Family is about taking care of each other." Trilna had studied hundreds of species, but this concept puzzled her. Most creatures only protected their direct offspring or mates. The idea of extending family bonds to other species was new to her. While Jake learned about the aliens, Captain Turner's fleet had grown to over 300 ships. They followed the ion trail left by the Zephyrian vessel through 3 star systems. Turner worked with Dr. Park to predict where the aliens might be heading. "The trail leads toward the Kepler void," Turner reported to Admiral Rodriguez. "That's uncharted space. Very dangerous to navigate." "Are you sure they went that way?" Rodriguez asked. "Yes, ma'am. Dr. Park's analysis shows Zephyrian technology can handle those conditions. Most other ships can't." Rodriguez looked at the star charts. The Kepler void was filled with radiation storms and gravitational anomalies that could destroy ships. Most species avoided it completely. Captain, how many of our ships can safely enter the void? Maybe 50 of the military vessels. Most of the civilian ships would be torn apart. But Rodriguez underestimated the determination of the civilian volunteers. When word spread that Jake might be in the Kepler void, dozens of ship captains began modifying their vessels for the dangerous journey. Pete Johnson worked around the clock to upgrade his cargo ship's shields. "I don't care how dangerous it is," he told his crew. "That kid needs help." Similar scenes played out across the fleet. Engineers shared equipment and knowledge to prepare ships for the void. Nobody wanted to turn back. On the Zephyrian research vessel, Jake was becoming a problem that Science Commander Vextal hadn't expected. The child's adaptability was far beyond their calculations. Instead of becoming docile in captivity, Jake was learning their language, understanding their technology, and even starting to predict their behavior. "The specimen displays unprecedented cognitive flexibility," Vextal told his research team. "It has memorized our ship's layout after only 5 days. It recognizes individual crew members and adjusts its communication style for each one." "Perhaps we should contact the homeworld for guidance," suggested Trilna. Vextal had been considering this. The human child was unlike any specimen they had studied. Their research models couldn't account for such rapid adaptation and learning. "Send a message to Elder Prime Kethvar," Vextal decided. "Inform him of our findings." Meanwhile, Jake was having his own conversation with Trilna. She had begun to enjoy talking with the human child. His questions made her think about things she had never considered before. "Trilna, do you have a family?" Jake asked. "I was created in a laboratory. I have genetic donors but no family bonds." "That sounds lonely." "Loneliness is an emotional response. We do not experience such things." Jake looked at her carefully. "Are you sure? You seem sad when you talk about not having family." Trilna paused. She had been having strange feelings lately, especially when Jake talked about his parents. The emotions were confusing and seemed to serve no logical purpose. "I do not understand these sensations," she admitted. "Maybe you do have feelings, but nobody taught you how to recognize them," Jake suggested. This conversation troubled Trilna long after Jake was returned to his cell. The idea that she might be capable of emotions like loneliness or sadness challenged everything she believed about her species. As the Zephyrian ship traveled deeper into the Kepler void, the message to their homeworld finally reached Elder Prime Kethvar. The Elder was ancient even by Zephyrian standards and had overseen thousands of research projects, but the message about the human specimen concerned him. Reports were also coming in from across the galaxy about human ships searching everywhere. The response seemed far beyond what any species would normally show for a single lost individual. "Send word to all Zephyrian vessels," Elder Kethvar ordered. "Avoid human space completely until we understand what we are dealing with." It was too late for such caution. Captain Turner's modified fleet was already entering the Kepler void, following the ion trail. The most dangerous phase of the hunt was about to begin. Back on the research vessel, Jake lay in his cell thinking about home. He missed his parents and Buddy terribly, but he wasn't giving up hope. He had learned a lot about the aliens in just a few days. He was starting to understand their weaknesses. Most importantly, he believed his parents would find him. He knew how much they loved him, and he had learned that humans were different from other species in the galaxy. Humans didn't give up on their family. Jake didn't know about the massive fleet searching for him, but he was right about one thing. His parents and all of humanity would never stop looking for him. Elder Prime Kethvar stood in the central chamber of the Zephyrian homeworld's ruling council. His ancient gray skin looked even paler under the soft blue lights. He had lived for over 400 years and thought he had seen everything the galaxy could offer. But the reports coming in from across space were unlike anything in Zephyrian history. "Show me the data again," he told his aide. The holographic display showed a map of the galaxy with moving dots representing ships. Red dots marked human vessels. In just 1 week, red dots had appeared in nearly every star system. They moved in organized patterns, clearly searching for something. Elder Prime, our monitoring stations report over 800 human ships have left their normal territories, the aide said. They appear to be conducting a massive search operation. Kethavar studied the patterns. What are they looking for? We believe it relates to the specimen collected by Science Commander Vextal's team. One juvenile specimen has caused this response? Kethavar was confused. That seems highly illogical. The aide activated another display. Elder Prime, we are also receiving communications from the Galactic Council. The human ambassador has requested an emergency session. This was even more unusual. Humans rarely participated in Galactic Council meetings. They preferred to handle their own affairs without interference from other species. For them to request an emergency session meant something serious was happening. What is the nature of their request? Kethavar asked. They claim a human child has been kidnapped. They demand the return of the child and threaten consequences if their demands are not met. Kethavar felt something he rarely experienced: uncertainty. In all his years, he had never seen such a unified response from any species over a single individual. On the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Ryan Clark prepared for the most important meeting of his career. Ryan was a former military officer who had become a diplomat later in life. He understood both warfare and negotiation. Today, he would need both skills. The council chamber was a massive round room with seats for representatives from 47 different species. Most of the seats were filled. News of humanity's response had spread quickly, and everyone wanted to understand what was happening. Council Speaker Morden called the session to order. He was a member of the Altarian species, known for their calm and logical approach to problems. But even he seemed nervous as he looked at the human ambassador. Ambassador Clark, you have requested this emergency session. Please state your concerns. Ryan stood slowly and looked around the chamber. He had prepared his words carefully. What he said here would be remembered for generations. Honored members of the council, Ryan began. A human child named Jake Miller was taken from his home on New Haven Colony 6 days ago. We have evidence that an alien species was responsible for this kidnapping. Several council members shifted in their seats. Kidnapping was rare in galactic society. Most species had moved beyond such primitive behaviors. We demand the immediate return of this child, Ryan continued. Any species harboring the kidnappers or refusing to assist in his rescue will be considered hostile to humanity. Council Speaker Morden looked troubled. Ambassador Clark, while we sympathize with your loss, surely one missing individual does not warrant such extreme language. Ryan's expression hardened. Speaker Morden, I don't think you understand the situation. Humanity considers an attack on one of our children to be an attack on all of humanity. The response you are seeing across the galaxy is just the beginning. What do you mean? Asked the representative from the Helian Trade Consortium. I mean that every human ship, every human colony, and every human citizen is now focused on finding Jake Miller. We will search every system, board every suspicious vessel, and investigate every lead until he is found. The chamber fell silent. The implications of Ryan's words were staggering. Humanity controlled some of the most important trade routes in the galaxy. If they decided to search every ship, galactic commerce would slow to a crawl. Surely this response is disproportionate to the situation, said the Centaurian representative. Ryan turned to face her directly. Would you say the same thing if it was your child? The question hung in the air. Most species in the council would mourn a lost child, but they wouldn't disrupt the entire galaxy to find them. They were beginning to realize that humans were fundamentally different. Meanwhile, in the depths of the Kepler void, Captain Turner's fleet had found the Zephyrian ion trail again. The dangerous radiation and gravitational fields had damaged several ships, but the fleet pressed on. Turner stood on the bridge of HMS Retribution, watching the sensor displays. Captain, we're detecting a large artificial structure ahead. His sensor officer reported. It appears to be a space station. Turner studied the readings. The station was huge, much larger than anything humanity had built. It was clearly Zephyrian design, with the smooth curves and crystalline structures they favored. That must be where they took Jake, Turner said. All ships prepare for combat operations. Commander Stone and his team had been preparing for this moment. They studied the station's layout and planned their assault. Getting inside would be dangerous, but they had to try. On the Zephyrian research station, Science Commander Vextal received urgent messages from the homeworld. Elder Prime Kethvar was ordering him to release the human specimen immediately. "I do not understand," Vextal told his communication officer. "We have barely begun our studies. The specimen shows remarkable properties. The Elder Prime reports that human military forces are searching the entire galaxy. Their response is unprecedented." Vextal found this hard to believe. In his experience, species might search for a lost individual for a few days, but then they would accept the loss and move on. The idea that humans would mobilize their entire civilization for one child seemed impossible. "Surely the homeworld is exaggerating the situation," he said. But deep down, Vextal was beginning to worry. The human child had already shown abilities that challenged Zephyrian understanding. Perhaps the species as a whole was equally unpredictable. In his cell, Jake was having another conversation with Trilna. The young Zephyrian scientist had become genuinely fond of the human child. She found their discussions fascinating and looked forward to their daily sessions. "Jake, I have been thinking about what you said regarding family bonds," Trilna said. "What about it?" "You claimed that family extends beyond biological relationships, but how can emotional bonds be stronger than genetic programming?" Jake thought, for a moment. "Maybe because we choose our family. My mom and dad chose to love me when they adopted me. That choice makes the bond stronger, not weaker." Trilna was surprised. "You were adopted?" "Yeah. My biological parents died when I was a baby. Carl and Lisa took me in and made me their son. That's why family is about more than just genes." This revelation shocked Trilna. She had assumed Jake was describing theoretical concepts, not his own experience. The idea that strangers would voluntarily take responsibility for an unrelated child was completely foreign to Zephyrian society. "But why would they accept such a burden?" she asked. "Because that's what love is," Jake said simply. "You take care of people because you want to, not because you have to." Trilna left the conversation feeling more confused than ever. Her entire understanding of relationships in society was being challenged by a 7-year-old human. Back in the council chamber, Ambassador Ryan Clark was fielding more questions from worried representatives. "Ambassador, what assurances can you give that human forces will not interfere with legitimate commerce?" asked the Vegan Trade Alliance representative. "None," Ryan said bluntly. "Until Jake Miller is returned safely, humanity will do whatever is necessary to find him. Any ship, any station, any planet could be searched if we believe it might lead to information about his location." The council members looked at each other nervously. They were beginning to understand that this wasn't just about one missing child. It was about how humans viewed family and loyalty. It was about their willingness to sacrifice everything for their own people. Council Speaker Morden tried to restore order. "Perhaps we can assist in locating the child. If all species cooperate in the search, we can resolve this situation quickly." Ryan nodded. "Any assistance would be appreciated. But understand this, humanity will not rest until Jake Miller is home. Every day he remains missing, our response will grow stronger." As the council session continued, reports arrived from across the galaxy. Human ships were systematically searching every known alien installation. Trade routes were being disrupted. Some species were starting to panic as the scope of humanity's response became clear. The Zephyrians had thought they were simply collecting a research specimen. They were discovering that they had triggered something much bigger. They had awakened the protective instincts of an entire species, and that species was more determined and resourceful than anyone had imagined. In the Kepler void, Captain Turner's fleet approached the research station. Soon, the hunt would become a rescue operation. Jake Miller was about to discover that his faith in humanity had been justified. His family was coming for him. Science Commander Vextal stood frozen on the bridge of the research station as his sensors detected the approaching human fleet. The displays showed hundreds of ships emerging from the dangerous radiation storms of the Kepler void. Military, Vessels, cargo haulers, mining ships, and civilian craft all moved together in perfect formation. How many ships are there? Vextel asked his sensor operator. I count 412 vessels, Commander. The formation includes warships, but also many civilian craft that appear to have been modified for combat. Vextel couldn't believe what he was seeing. These weren't just military forces. Ordinary humans had risked their lives traveling through one of the most dangerous regions in the galaxy to search for a single child. Open a communication channel, Vextel ordered. Captain. Turner's face appeared on the main screen. His expression was calm but determined. Behind him, Vextel could see the bridge of a human warship filled with activity. This is Captain Ben Turner of the Human Colonial Defense Network, Turner said. You are harboring a kidnapped human child, named Jake Miller. Return him immediately and prepare to be boarded for inspection. Vextel tried to maintain his composure. Captain Turner, I am Science Commander Vextel. We are conducting legitimate scientific research under galactic law. Kidnapping a child is not legitimate research, Turner replied. You have 1 hour to release Jake Miller. After that, we will take him by force. The communication ended, leaving Vextel staring at the dark screen. Around him, his crew looked frightened. They had never faced anything like this before. Trilna entered the bridge carrying a data pad with her latest observations about Jake. She stopped when she saw the human fleet on the displays. Commander, what is happening? She asked. The humans have come for their specimen, Vextel said. Apparently, they are willing to risk hundreds of ships and thousands of lives to retrieve one individual. Trilna looked at the massive fleet and thought about her conversations with Jake. Suddenly, everything he had told her about human family bonds made sense. These weren't just rescue ships. They were a demonstration of what humans would do for their own. Commander, perhaps we should return the child, Trilna suggested. Absolutely not, Vextel replied. We have learned too much. This specimen represents a breakthrough in our understanding of adaptive intelligence. But Vextel's confidence was shaken when his communication officer received an urgent message from Elder Prime Kethvar on the homeworld. Commander, you will release the human specimen immediately. The Elder Prime's voice was sharp with worry. The situation has escalated beyond our control. Elder Prime, our research is just beginning to yield results, Vextel protested. The human ambassador has addressed the Galactic Council. Their entire species has mobilized. Ships are searching every system. Trade is being disrupted. Other species are demanding action. Vextel realized that his simple research project had somehow triggered a galactic crisis, but his scientific curiosity was still stronger than his caution. Elder Prime, give me more time to study this specimen. The knowledge we could gain is invaluable. No, Commander. Release the child now. That is a direct order. The communication ended. Vextel looked around the bridge at his worried crew. For the first time in his long career, he was considering disobeying a direct order from the homeworld. Meanwhile, Commander Alex Stone and his assault team prepared their equipment on Turner's flagship. Stone had studied the research station's layout and identified the most likely location for holding prisoners. The station has heavy shielding, but I think we can break through their docking bay defenses, Stone told Turner. Once we're inside, my team can locate the boy. Turner looked at the tactical displays. Commander, I'm reading massive energy buildups inside that station. They might be preparing weapons. Then we better move fast, Stone replied. In his cell aboard the station, Jake was writing on a piece of metal he had scratched with a small tool. He had been keeping notes about everything he observed. The layout of the ship, the aliens' routines, their technology, and their weaknesses. Jake had always been good at noticing details. His adoptive parents had encouraged his curiosity, and now that attention to detail might save his life. Trilna arrived for their daily session, but she seemed different. She looked nervous and kept checking the door. Jake, I need to tell you. Something important, she said. Your people have come looking for you. Jake's heart jumped. My mom and dad? Not just your parents. Hundreds of ships from your species. They have surrounded our station and demanded your return. Jake stood up excitedly. I knew they would come. I knew they wouldn't give up. Trilna was amazed by Jake's confidence. Even after being held prisoner for over a week, he had never doubted. that his people would find him. "Jake, I want to help you," Trilna said quietly. "I think what we did was wrong." "What do you mean?" "Taking you from your family. I understand now what family means to humans. I have been studying our conversations, and I realize that what you call love creates bonds stronger than any biological programming." Jake looked at the young alien with new respect. "You figured that out from talking to me? You taught me something my species never learned. We create life in laboratories, but we never learned how to truly care for each other." Before Jake could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red, and automated voices announced that the station was under attack. "They're coming for me," Jake said with certainty. Commander Stone's assault team blasted through the station's docking bay doors exactly 1 hour after Captain Turner's ultimatum expired. The Zephyrians had no military experience and couldn't mount an effective defense against human special forces. Stone's team moved through the station corridors with practiced efficiency. Their sensors guided them toward the detention areas where Jake was likely being held. On the bridge, Science Commander Vextel watched helplessly as human soldiers advanced through his station. His security forces were scientists, not warriors. They had no chance against trained military personnel. "All hands, abandon research stations and retreat to evacuation pods," Vextal ordered. But Trilna didn't follow the evacuation order. Instead, she stayed with Jake, determined to protect him from any violence that might occur during the rescue. When Commander Stone's team reached Jake's cell, they found the door already open. Trilna stood beside Jake, her hands raised in surrender. "Please, don't hurt her," Jake said immediately. "She's been nice to me." Stone knelt down to Jake's eye level. The big soldier's scarred face was gentle when he spoke to the child. "Are you Jake Miller?" Stone asked. "Yes, sir." "Are you here to take me home?" "That's exactly why we're here, son. Your mom and dad are waiting for you." Stone's team carefully checked Jake for injuries while Trilna watched. She was amazed by how gently these human warriors treated the child. Everything Jake had told her about human protective instincts was proving true. "Commander Stone," Jake said as they prepared to leave. "Trilna helped me. She shouldn't be punished." Stone looked at the young Zephyrian. "Did you hurt this boy?" "No," Trilna replied. "I tried to make his captivity less difficult. I have learned much from him about the nature of family bonds." Stone made a decision that surprised everyone. "Come with us. Maybe you can help prevent this kind of thing from happening again." As Stone's team escorted Jake and Trilna to the rescue shuttles, Jake handed the commander his handwritten notes. "I wrote down everything I learned about their ship and technology," Jake said. "I thought it might be useful." Stone looked at the detailed observations and technical sketches. This 7-year-old boy had compiled better intelligence on Zephyrian technology than many trained spies could have managed. "Son, this is amazing work," Stone said. "You're going to make a great officer someday if you want to." The rescue shuttle docked with Captain Turner's flagship, where Jake was reunited with his parents via video communication. Carl and Lisa Miller cried with relief when they saw their son alive and unharmed. "We're coming to get you right now," Carl said through the video link. "We have a ship waiting to bring you home." "I knew you would find me, Dad," Jake said. "I never stopped believing." As news of Jake's rescue spread throughout the human fleet, celebrations broke out on hundreds of ships. But the mission wasn't over yet. The Galactic Council needed to understand what had happened and why it must never happen again. Ambassador Ryan Clark received word of the successful rescue while still in the council chamber. He stood to address the assembled representatives one final time. "Jake Miller has been recovered safely," Ryan announced. "But this incident has revealed something important about humanity that the galaxy needs to understand." The chamber was silent as Ryan continued. "We are not like other species. When one of our own is threatened, all of us respond. When a human child is taken, it becomes a threat to every human family. This is not weakness or irrationality. It is our greatest strength." "Council," Speaker Morden looked around the chamber at the worried alien faces. "Ambassador Clark, what assurances can you give that such a response will not occur again?" "Simple," Ryan replied. "Don't take our people. Don't threaten our families. Don't mistake our peaceful nature for weakness. Treat humans with the respect we have always shown other species, and you will have nothing to fear from us.